Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to your Lunch Break Live. My name's Ivana if you're new here. Today is Thursday, April the 22nd, and today we're going to be talking about something that a lot of the country is talking about right now, and that is the verdict in the Derek Chauvin case in the murder of George Floyd. We know by this point that former police officer Derek Chauvin was convicted on all three counts in Mr. Floyd's murder. So Lee Roop, our own reporter, is here today, and he is going to tell us about what our senator from Alabama, U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville, said during his weekly press call on Wednesday about the case, about the verdict. So, Lee, I know that you were on a call with Senator Tuberville yesterday, and he mentioned the Derek Chauvin verdict and George Floyd. So tell us a little bit about what he said and how that topic was introduced.
Sure, Ivana. The senator has a weekly call for reporters from Alabama. We can get on. He talks to us about what he's been doing the previous week, and then we get an opportunity to ask him questions. He has a busy week doing all manner of things, as you can imagine. He didn't bring up the case specifically in his prepared remarks, but when I had an opportunity to ask him, it was obviously the day after the verdict. It seemed like the right thing to do. So I asked him what he thought about it. And so that's how it came up. And as he usually is, he gave it to you straight, no chaser, how he felt about it. He thought the verdict was right, thought it was justice. And then he pivoted to another issue of his, which is defunding the police. He really doesn't want to talk about defunding the police. And he actually used this as an opportunity to say there needs to be more funding for training, equipment, and so forth. So he told me exactly what he thought, and then he pivoted to something that he's been talking about all along. So it didn't surprise me.
I think that, so it might not have surprised you, Lee, but I think that there are a lot of people who probably did not expect the senator to make those comments, who did not expect the senator to say, and I've got the quote here, I'll read it verbatim, that justice was served. That was a quote he said about the verdict in the trial. And he also said that the jury did their job. That was a quote that the senator said on Wednesday. Now, Lee, I think there's a lot of people in Alabama and probably nationwide that did not expect Senator Tuberville to say those words.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. I mean, he's a conservative senator from a conservative state, and support for the police is very important. It's very important everywhere, particularly in the party that he's in. It really didn't surprise me though, because I'm used to him now. He tells you exactly what he thinks. I don't know what 6 years of being in the Senate will do to that. But right now, you can pretty much count on him to tell you what he thinks. And I think he obviously kept up with the case. I think when he was talking about the jury doing his job, he was also probably referring to sitting and listening, paying attention, following the evidence. He pointed out that the judge did his job as well, keeping control of the trial, keeping it moving forward. And so it could be interpreted in both ways, that they did the job that people thought they should do in convicting the officer, or that it was a good trial, well run, and he didn't disagree with the verdict.
That's an interesting point, Lee, to make. We know that this was a long trial, and so you're right. That comment could be interpreted as saying, "Look, the jurors sat there for X number of days and listened to the evidence." That is not an easy job. I don't know if anybody has watching this been on a jury or maybe has covered trials as a courts reporter for a while, and it is not as easy as it might sound to sit there and listen through all of that evidence and all of those witnesses. Now, Lee, a couple of other things that the senator mentioned regarding George Floyd and Derek Chauvin and just the entire topic that the country is talking about right now and on racial justice. He said, and I'm looking at my notes here, that he wants the national conversation to change society with law enforcement, not any other comment about law enforcement being done away with, but he says that law enforcement is part of that conversation on changing society. He said that the worst thing we could do is take away money from police. And he also said that the conversation should be going to more money to police for salaries and training. I believe those were the two things he mentioned. So, Lee, elaborate a little bit on those comments the senator made.
Sure. Well, of course, we're all familiar with the defund the police slogan and saying that we've heard all year long. And I think there's some confusion maybe or misunderstanding about what people are talking about when they say that. As I understand it, they're talking about maybe de-escalating some of the militarization or the military type aspects of modern policing. I really am not sure, but I think that he is very concerned about that, the move to take assets and resources away from police departments. And I think he thinks they need. I don't, it's important that people understand, I don't think he's interested at all in less support for the police and what they do. But he sees an opportunity here to turn the conversation. Okay, let's don't defund the police. Let's do a better job training them. Let's give them better equipment. Let's make better hires at the start. That's the way I interpreted what he said. And he didn't know the question was coming. So it was not anything. He'd obviously been following the trial and been briefed on it, but he didn't know what I was going to ask. Might have anticipated it. But that's, I think, what he really thought.
I think that's an interesting point, Lee. This call is a standing weekly call that the senator has with media. And so this call was not specifically about the Derek Chauvin trial, the verdict, the killing, and the murder of George Floyd. This was about just his normal standing call. And you actually were the one that asked that question to get his thoughts on it. Something that I also thought was interesting, the senator said, he said people deserved trained law enforcement. And in that comment and in that same breath, when he was talking about more money to law enforcement, he mentioned that training. He also mentioned body cam footage, and he mentioned footage in general. He said that body camera and video footage is important. And there was actually a sentence in your story where the senator said that people may not have understood the importance and the significance of what happened to Mr. Floyd without that body cam.
Yeah, I'm glad you, I felt the same way you did about it. It was really interesting to hear him say that. Body camera footage with police it's an incredibly powerful tool. There's been a lot of controversy and a lot of disagreement sometimes between the media and police departments about who gets to see what, when. Certainly, there's a whole lot of different sides to that as well. What you might be seeing causing pain to someone's family or getting a bad perspective, but it also is actually video of the police officers doing their job at the time of the crisis. It's a very powerful tool, and to have him talk about it, mention it on his own, cite the importance of it, and I thought that was noteworthy. I agree with you. I absolutely thought it was.
When he mentioned that about how important the body cam and just other video surveillance footage is, we know that you really can't even walk into the grocery store, walk into your big box store of choice without being on footage and without being on camera. We know those cameras are common nowadays, and you almost expect to be on camera anywhere you go. Did he make any comments as to if he believed that footage and that body cam footage should be released more, or did he just say it was important and not elaborate on exactly why or when?
He didn't talk about when it should be released and why, but I think he was clearly saying, because we had that video and because we could all see it, and in the case of a trial, argue about it, and have the defense and the prosecution in challenging each other's interpretation of it. We got to watch it. We got to watch it repeatedly. So we got to sort of make the jury, and more importantly, even than us, the jury got to see it and got to take it back into the jury room and look at it. So I think, it's incredibly important, and it's incredibly important to have a United States Senator call for more of it, and I think more training also.
And we know too, just to make a statement there, Lee and myself, we know we've been doing this for a little bit. You have been doing it longer than me, Lee, but we know that the body cam release is often not common by many law enforcement agencies. It's not usually something that they just hand out without any sort of thought to it. So interesting comment there from the senator about that footage. Now, Lee, I do want you to reiterate why this conversation happened. We've got some people kind of questioning it, what the senator said and if he said it. So will you tell us where that conversation happened, why, and if you talked to him in person, on the telephone, et cetera?
Sure. The senator has a weekly call with Alabama reporters, and we can get on. He will talk to us about what he's done the week, what he thinks are the important issues before Congress this week, and what he thinks about those. And then he'll open it up to questions. He did not bring up the trial in his comments. He had a lot of other things that I need to get reported on as well. But when the first questions came up, I asked him, because the verdict had just happened the day before, what did you think? What is your reaction to it? And that I'm sure that he had been told to possibly expect that question, but what he said was in response to my question. He didn't come out of the gate saying, I want to make a stand on this or make a statement about this. And he did just like I'm getting used to him doing. I mean, he just said it pretty directly and pretty clearly. And I had the opportunity to ask a follow-up question if I wanted to. And so, no, he didn't come out trumping it, saying, well, I'm here to talk about this today as justice or injustice. But he clearly had prepared for it, and then he had an opportunity to link it to something he thinks is important, which is don't defund the police, give them more money, give them more training, make them, help them do their jobs better.
And Lee, I think this is interesting and something that deserves to be reiterated. Earlier, you were mentioning the senator's comments on adding funding to the police for salaries and training. That is what Senator Tuberville said, and that he was against defunding the police. But as you noted earlier, the national defund the police movement is a multifaceted argument. It is not just about taking away money. But the senator didn't really get into that. He just said that he thought that law enforcement needed more money, more funds for salaries, training, and the like.
Right. And I think implicit in that, and I do think it's fair to say implicit in that, is we want to hire the best people that we can for this tough job. And we want to, he didn't say this, but I don't think he would disagree that you want good standards. You want to make sure you're doing the best to get the right people, and probably keep track as they go through the job and what the job does. It's one of the toughest jobs in America right now, and keep an eye, have the resources there to help, have the equipment there to help, get the best people you can, and support them in that way. But if something like this happens, the courts are there and make sure they do a good job. And he thought justice was done.
Lee, we know you're going to be keeping an eye on the senator for quite some time, weekly, quite some time to come. Call out a couple comments here. I got Jamisha saying police need to be retrained. I've got Dana saying that he is going to say that Tommy pleasantly surprised him. So interesting comments here. I got another top fan just saying Jesus Christ. So lots of different reactions here. We appreciate all of them. Lee, thank you so much for taking your time, breaking down what our senator said today, because the senator is representing the state of Alabama, and we deserve to know that what he is saying in these calls with the press.
Glad to do it. Glad to get an opportunity to talk to him anytime, Yvonne. Anytime.
Lee, thank you so much. Everybody watching, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.